All done. New emblem installed. That's a beauty. All chrome plated. Looks good. No cracks. Door that works. Finisher installed. Nice tight fits all the way around. Finisher on the steering wheel installed. All done. Everything works, folks. That's important to me. As it should be to us all. Anyway, interesting journey. I'll recap a few key things you want to keep in mind. Removing it is not that hard. Take the steering wheel off, take all the finishing components off, remove the combination switch and the indicator. All you gotta do is loosen a couple screws there, unplug all the wires. That pulls clean off, so all you have left is a shaft there. Taking off there's a few wires on the far side there you have to dig around and get at. You should be able to get to them all without removing the dash. I ended up not disconnecting until the dash was half out. That made things complicated. I think you can get to all those wires, unhook them before you even start to remove the dash. Here, there's a couple switches up under here. All these few of these come out. Not all of them, but you'll be able to figure it out when you look at it. Once all the wires are unplugged, remove this finisher on the top, which is like 4 Phillips screws, and then there's like, I think 2, 4, I think there's a total of 6 10mm bolts that hold the dash top. There's one on the bottom here, and there's one on the bottom there. Take those off. The whole dash. Oh, unscrew the speedo cable. You might have to pull the dash out a little bit to get to it. Maybe not. I think I was able to get my hand up in there and loosen that and unscrew that speedo cable. That's probably one of the biggest efforts in the whole job, is taking that speedo cable on and off. You lift the whole dash off, take it out. Now, let's talk about putting the dash back on the frame. Let me go here and take a look at the frame so you get an idea of the dash. Make sure when you're putting this dash on, there's going to be holes in the metal frame that align with these hard points. This is the old dash. Make sure you've got this thing pushed back as far as humanly possible. In other words, if you have a hole that big, make sure you've got this dash pushed as far back against it as you can. Do that all across the heart. What you want to do is you want this dash pulled up tightly as you can in this direction towards the metal frame. Okay, that's really important because you want this part here to be set back as far as possible to get behind the door opening, and you want these parts here, these gauge openings, to push back as far as you can, so that when you install your gauges, they'll stick through and be covered by these openings here. That's important. Make sure the dash is pushed in this direction as much as possible against the frame. All right. Aside from that, I think it's a pretty straightforward process. I think the dash, as it comes from vintage dashes, the only thing you're going to have to do there, you have to make that hole there. Mine was covered with plastic, and these 2 holes here. Okay. Do whatever you have to do to make those. I made up a little brass punch to make nice clean holes, which were better than these factory holes. But anyway, I made nice clean holes there. And this one here, I kind of put an X cut with a razor, and then I used the actual cigarette lighter itself, which is threads, and this is pretty sharp metal here, to kind of cut those to clean that out nice and neat. Other than that, there's not much else to tell about it. For me, the hardest part, aside from just manhandling just one person, you have to take this big long dash in and out of the car. Probably the hardest part was getting the dadgum speedometer cable reattached. There's not much room to work up in there. You need little tiny hands. I got huge hands, so it was hard for me to get up in there and reattach it. It probably took me 30 minutes of fiddling around with that just to get that one thing done, reattach that speedo cable. But overall, it wasn't a particularly tough project. And I think I already mentioned earlier in one of my earlier videos, the only other real issue I have with the whole dash is this material here. This is really thin on mine. This is just the thickness of the material. Let's get out here and open it and see it. Okay. See this? This is just, in fact, it looks like, I don't know what it is. It's just this thin. I mean, it's just the thickness of the plastic. And that's important because these screws that come through here and attach the little plastic glove box, okay, all that stuff there, they're very short little Phillips screws, and if this material's too thick, which it was on mine, what happens is the screws cannot go through this plastic, through the thickness on the vintage dashes foam, and then into the glove box, and then into the little retaining clips that are on the back of the glove box. Okay, or actually on the frame. So you want to make sure, if you have your vintage dash, look at this area real closely, and if there's a layer of foam embedded on the plastic, do yourself a big favor. And especially if you're, I mean, I'm assuming everybody's OE dash is like mine, all right? If yours is not like this, then do what you have to do. But I'm saying you want this to be the same. Whatever it's on your OE dash, you want it to be the same on the vintage dash. Mine, it was a little bit thicker on the vintage dash. It caused me a little bit of problem. I worked it out eventually, but you know, that's just the way it is. Other issue. I think I already mentioned the only other issue I had was the fitment of this hard point. On my vintage dash, it was like twisted a little bit, so this point was hard for me to find. I ended up having to re-drill my own. In fact, this looks kind of weird looking. No, this metal piece is formed a little differently. I don't know if that's significant or not. And I don't remember these. I don't remember these openings. Maybe I'm not sure what this is for, or if that's significant at all. But I don't remember those on my vintage dash. I don't remember having a problem either, so I guess it's not important. Yeah, I don't know what that was all about. Anyway, that's it for now. I just wanted you to be aware of any issues you might run into, but you know, you can't argue with the outcome. It looks beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous in there. And hopefully with the modern era plastics, it won't be so susceptible to cracking in the sun for at least way beyond my lifetime. Anyway, thanks for watching.